And now, direct from Las Vegas.
Welcome to Football Forecast Weekly. Each week, your host, Trip Mitchell, will introduce you to the top handicapper in Vegas, Dennis Tobler, and one of the top sportscasters in the U.S., Fred Wallen.
Today's edition of Football Forecast Weekly is brought to you by mybookie.ag. For the best in sports betting, go to mybookie.ag, and you can win just like Dennis, Fred, and me. Welcome to another edition of Football Forecast Weekly. I'm lucky enough to be joined by industry veteran Dennis Tobler and sports writing legend Fred Wallen. Hi, everyone. How was your week last week, Dennis?
Oh, it was great. We had a tremendous week. I think our last week's show, too, was fabulous. We had a lot of information on there, and I certainly heard from a lot of people. They were really happy with the information that comes out of this show.
So you had a good, I don't want to jinx it, but you had a pretty darn good week.
Yeah, I went 5-0 in the circa $4 million contest again. So 2 out of the 3 weeks I've been 5-0, and I'm not going to really talk about it much anymore until I cash a ticket.
Okay, and that totally understand. Now, for those people not from Vegas, let me describe these big football contests, why they really separate the men from the boys, in that they'll ask you for 5 picks a week, but it is not a freebie to get in. There are a lot of money to get in, but only the best handicappers do well in this contest. Don't talk about that specific thing, but Dennis, can you talk about the football contests over the years?
Yeah, there's always been great contests here in Las Vegas, starting in the old days with the Castaways Casino, starting theirs, and it evolved into what's at the Westgate, formerly the Hilton. And they have a big contest, which every year you pay $1,000 or $1,500 to enter. And it usually has a $500,000 to $1 million payout. The one at the Circa, the new Circa Casino here in Las Vegas, is the nuts when it comes to sports books. It's like the old Stardust was. It's 3 stories inside of that place, and you look like you're in a stadium when you're in there. Anyway, Circa put up $4 million for their contest. They're paying out quarterly prizes, as well as at the end of the day, $1 million. So it's very important to get in them. Everybody can get in them. You just have to fly here to enter, and then you can get them on your app on your phone and play them from anywhere. So all you got to do is join.
How much was it to get in this year?
This year, it's $1,000 at Circa for their big contest, and $1,000 per entry for the 1 pick a week, losing you're out. And for the Westgate contest, they were $1,500 a year until Circa came to town. And in order to get any players, they had to drop their fee to $1,000 this year. So Westgate's at $1,000, Circa's $1,000 per entry.
Okay, and let's introduce the third member of our team. And $1,000, Dennis, for Fred is tip money. But you know, a lot of us aren't like that. Fred, how was your week last week?
Well, I won 50 right here on this show. Notre Dame. An easy win over Wisconsin, so can't be bad about that. It would have been a perfect week. I had Cincinnati, I had Carolina last Thursday night. Even without McCaffrey for 3/4 of the game, they won easily. I had Notre Dame as indicated. I had Cincinnati over Pittsburgh, and that was easy. And the one I lost on was the total on the UCLA-Stanford game was 60. It falls 35-24. Last time I checked, that's 59. I tried to squeeze them, but they wouldn't pay off on that one. But again, Thompson Robinson was hurt in the second half, so the Bruins offense sort of stopped a little bit in the fourth quarter. I think it would have gone, I'm sure it would have gone over. But you win some, you lose some, but you take 3 out of 4, and that's a pretty good week.
And
yeah, let me add something real quick to Fred's comment there. The bookmakers took the worst of that because they moved that number from 58.5. When we did the show, it was 58.5. So Fred, you actually won on the show's number, but by the time you bet it, it went to 60, and the number lit on 59. So the bookies got beat both ways. If you took the over 58.5, you won. You took the under 60, you won. So the number 59 was crucial in that spot. So we're going to give Fred a win for that. He had it at 50.
So Dennis, I'm not great at math, but if Fred was 3-1 before and we gave him the win, that would make him very good, wouldn't it?
4-0. 4-0
Okay.
off the lines he was on.
That is very good. And let's talk a little bit about your system, Dennis, that you use, which is really calculating line moves around the world to get a situation where you've got the best advantage. Can you talk about that real quick, and then we'll get to the games?
Well, yeah, we operate a hedge fund for sports betting here in Las Vegas. It has to be in the state of Nevada, but we use proprietary software that scrapes the world sports books and forms a consensus line. That consensus line, we figure, is what the actual line is, because that's where the money's going. So as that line moves up and down, we search the country for spots where we can get an advantage over that particular line. We call it a positive edge. We make no wagers unless we have a positive edge. So whatever the consensus world line is, if we can get a better number on either side of it, we'll take those bets. And we bet a lot of bets over the weekend, a lot of totals too. And I want to mention this guy, Stephen R. from Pennsylvania. He contacts me every week. He tells me his plays every week. He's astounded by how much we win every week, but he has to throw in his 2 bits about the over and unders. And I have to tell him, I just let the machine hedge out the over and unders because they're impossible to pick. But he keeps throwing out the over and unders that he wins. So I guess he's going to stick to the handicapping method. But yeah, we do very well with our stuff. And there's a difference between handicap selections and selections that are coming off the computer.
Okay. Well, let's get to it. We're not going to mention we're not going to handicap the Thursday night game because the show comes out on Thursday, but it is a stinker. And Jacksonville at Cincinnati. Let's go to the first game that we're going to talk about. The Washington football team at the Atlanta Falcons. Washington laying 1.5. At least that's my number. Dennis, let's start with you.
Yes, Washington's laying 1.5 here. Atlanta came up big for me last week because I had them on the contest pick at +2.5. In this particular situation, I'm going to go with Atlanta, I think. Washington, they haven't proven much to me. And Atlanta, they don't play a consistent game, but right before halftime, Matty Ice took him down and scored. Right before the end of the game, he took him down and scored. And then when he got the ball the last time, he got in field goal range. So he only put together 3 drives, but they won the game. So I have a hard time with this game. I really don't have that much of an opinion, but I'd ride with the home team if I was going to play it.
Okay, Fred?
I don't have a strong opinion at all, but I will say this. Heineke will get better every time out. So I think as the season moves forward, we'll see even a better quarterback. Last year when he had the opportunity, he played very well. He's played up and down so far in the first 3 weeks. I think every week he'll get better, but I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. But I'd lean toward Washington, to tell you the truth.
And that was a great story last year at the end of the season where an unheralded quarterback, I mean, that's one of those feel-good stories. And let's talk about a team in the feel-bad category, and that's the Detroit Lions are visiting the Chicago Bears. Or 2 teams that you should feel bad for. The Lions visiting the Bears, Chicago -3. Fred, what any thoughts on 2 teams from the Norris division?
One team has a quarterback, the other team does not. I'll go with the team that has the quarterback. I think
so you might like the Lions.
Well, I don't like them, but against the Bears, I like them. How is it possible? 42 chances, you gain 47 yards in 60 minutes in the National Football League. I think that was the 2nd worst in the history of the league. That's impossible. 47 total yards. I don't know if it was Justin Fields' fault. I don't know if it was Nagy's fault. I don't know if it's the offensive line's fault. 47 yards, folks, is a joke. and as far as the Lions are concerned, they play good halves. Now, the question is, can they play 60 minutes? We'll find out. I think they can beat the Bears.
And Dennis, your thought, and by the way, just as a quick note, the Lions had to beat 11 players on the field and one with a white cap last week. But Dennis, what are your thoughts on the Bears?
Yeah, I think in a lot of these games, that's the situation too. On this game, it's very interesting, guys, because the opening week line on this game was the Bears -6. And then after they played so shoddy, it went to 3 to open here in the States. We might mention that the lines in Las Vegas don't really come out until Tuesdays. Okay, that's when most of the sports books put their numbers up here, and we're well into the betting week by Tuesdays. So the line opened at 6, dropped to 3. It's even dropped to 2.5 now. And the reason being is Nagy. That's who's to blame, Fred. Nagy. He's the worst coach in the NFL. I watched that game. He puts that quarterback in a situation that he absolutely can't get out of. I mean, he's a pretty good quarterback and he has some talent, but yeah, you have to run blocking schemes. You have to run the right plays. You have to do everything, but he looks pathetic on the sidelines calling offense. I don't know who their defensive coordinator is, but to not get 50 yards in the whole entire NFL game, you blame that on the head coach and you fire him is what you do. I'm going to take Detroit here too. I think they just had their heart ripped out when that 66-yard field goal bounced off the middle of the bar and went over. I mean, that has to be one of the most heartbreaking losses in the history of the NFL because the Lions are craving for a win. I think they might get one here. I'm going to see the tendencies of the line move down, and I think it's going to go down farther than 2.5 because the Bears don't have it. They just can't score.
Well, and interestingly enough, in Detroit Lion history, Tom Dempsey set an NFL record back in the 60s for New Orleans, beating the Lions at the last second. And Alex Karras said he openly was laughing when Dempsey went on the field to try that field goal. And that stood up for a lot of years. And that is not great. And Fred, you'll get a kick out of this. When you see Matthew Stafford, he looks like a hostage who's just been released. He is so happy to be out of Detroit and in LA. That man, he cannot wipe that smile off his face.
No, he's playing exceptionally well, and they've got receivers, but a third receiver that, and again, I play fantasy, stick Jefferson in there because he's going to catch 3 or 4 or 5 every single game from Matt Stafford. They've got a nice thing going. So yeah, Stafford has done everything right. But again, this week against Arizona, they're in tough because as solid as the Ram defense might be, and Darnold will be out there after Murray. Murray's pretty quick. And so far this season, Arizona, the Cardinals have been up and down. But that line, I lean toward Arizona to cover. I really do. And we'll see what happens. But Stafford might have a big day. I think there'll be a lot of points scored in that one also.
Okay, well, let's get to our next game. And a team that proudly makes up one of the 2 worst teams in the New York City area, the Jets hosting the Titans. Titans laying 7.5 on the road. Fred, what's your thought on that game?
Well, if they score 8, they win.
Are you implying that the rookie quarterback out of BYU, who had a
I know you're in Utah.
I'm
sorry, I know you're in Utah. And I know the people of Provo may not like this, but so far, Sam Darnold is playing awfully well for Carolina, and Zach Wilson is playing about as poorly as an NFL. Well, got Justin Fields. But the point being, Tennessee should win. Henry should gain 150 or so on the ground, and certainly they'll probably have 35 or 40 minutes to ball control. So I imagine Tennessee will win. But again, I do not usually give more than a touchdown. I've learned my lesson and a long time ago, but Tennessee will win the game.
Okay. And Dennis, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Tennessee will win the game. The line opened at 6, moved to 7.5. Fred's right about him running ball control. The total opened at 48, down to 46. It looks like a game where Tennessee's going to win 24-3, something like that. So I would lay the number in this spot because I don't think the Jets can score. And they didn't score against Denver, I don't believe. So I'm not sure they can score at all. And that BYU quarterback was the most overrated quarterback to come in the league since Ryan Leaf.
Whoa. Those are small shoes to fill.
He's no good. And by the way, I have a question for you, Tripp. Utah State hosts BYU hosts Utah State this weekend, or vice versa. We want to know, both Fred and I, who's going to win that one. The line's 9.
Going away.
BYU's 9.
BYU going away. Take that one. But,
okay.
You took my advice a couple weeks ago and laid large number on it. And I don't remember saying that Utah was going to beat BYU. And when you lost that game, you blamed it on me. So
Yeah,
don't.
I want to blame this one on you too if they lose. If
Okay.
BYU doesn't cover.
Well, and Ryan Leaf, boy, that is a shot across the bow. I want to tell you a quick, funny Vegas story. Art Schleister, you remember, out of Ohio State? And
Oh,
Fred
sure,
will
the
remember.
gambler.
Yeah, the gambler. He, Fred, you probably, I don't know if you worked with him at the Sports and Entertainment Network or the American Sports Radio Network, but I met Art Schleister in the studio, and within an hour of meeting him, he tried to get me to do a check kiting thing where he'd write me a check and I'd write him a check at the same time. And within an hour of meeting the guy, that's a Vegas story.
That is an amazing story. And having worked for the networks, that's an amazing story. It's all I'll say.
Jerry would hire an addicted gambler, move him out to Vegas, put him in a casino to work for a sports betting network.
See, I didn't say that. You said that, folks. The Grassards, it wasn't me. It was
Jerry Kuttner. Yeah, God bless him.
I know.
Next game up, the Cleveland Browns at the Vikings. Cleveland laying 2.5 on the road. Fred, let's start with you on this one.
I was shocked last week the way Minnesota played in the second half, beating Seattle badly. I really am. But still, in this one, I'm going to go with the Browns a little bit. And let's just see if Cousins can play as well as he did last week. Again, Seattle in the second half and the last 2 weeks have fallen asleep. I don't think Cleveland will. So again, it's not a strong game for me, but I would go with the Browns.
And Dennis?
No, I'm going to disagree with him in this particular spot. The Browns are laying 2 points on the road, and Minnesota is just playing awesome. Not only this last week, but the weekend before, they came back in the second half and poured on the points. So they definitely have their offense working. Their quarterback doesn't have COVID, evidently, so they can score. So I'm going to take the home team here. I'll take the home dog, Minnesota.
Okay. And Dennis, while we got you here, the Colts with your favorite quarterback at the Dolphins. Miami laying 1.5 at home.
Well, I got to tell you, the Colts, they suck. All right. All the way around. Coaches, quarterback, everything is terrible there. The line, believe it or not, opened at Miami 2.5 down to 1.5 is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a total that's dropping precipitously from 47 over the weekend to 45.5, 43.5, this morning, 42.5. So we know for sure that there's not going to be much scoring in that game. And there might not be any because Miami doesn't have much of a quarterback situation either. However, Brissett is probably as good as Tua. So, give him another week and he'll probably do it there. I'm going to take Miami, obviously.
And Fred, did you have Dennis saying precipitous more than 3 times during the show, or 3 and under? Which are you on that?
Well, it had to do with Wentz's 2 sprains of each ankle. I don't know how healthy he'll be this weekend, but I think Dennis made a pretty good point right there. Jacoby Brissett played pretty well for Miami, and they're going to give Tua the job back when he's healthy. But I think Brissett's got a better arm and he's quicker. If I'm the coach, I'm going to look for a reason to play Jacoby Brissett even when Tua comes back. As far as this week, it's again not a strong play because, as Dennis said, neither team's going to score a lot of points. But if I had to, I think I'd take the home team. Really, that's what I think of Wentz at this point in time.
Okay, and we'll keep it right here with you. The Panthers, team that I'm really liking this year, great coaching, going into Dallas. Dallas laying 4.5 at home.
Dallas played a good game on Monday night. They could have won by more. Remember that they didn't score from the 1 yard line, and yet they still beat Philadelphia rather easily. The problem with Carolina is pretty big problem. One of the best players in the league, McCaffrey's not playing. So again, it's going to be all on the passing attack, and I don't think that's going to be enough. So Dallas might be slightly down after playing Philadelphia. That's a big one for them usually, but I still think the Cowboys will cover a 4.5-point spread.
Okay, Dennis?
I tend to agree. You know, I wasn't sure the Cowboys were going to be as good as they were, but Dak Prescott come back and he's playing better than I've ever seen him play. And they've been putting points on the board. Their defense can stop them. The biggest problem they have in this game is Carolina's defense. Carolina's defense is tremendous. But I still think Dallas can overwhelm them on that home field of theirs. Dallas is full of talent, you know, and I would be surprised if they don't go a long ways this year. I'm going to lay the 4.5 in this spot too.
And Prescott, you know, it's nice. It used to be for the last number of years, you'd always hear the contract issues. And it's nice not to hear that every day, because you kind of put that to bed. And you know, Cowboys are America's team. And speaking of a team that is kind of America's team, that's the Saints. And the Saints are at home laying 7.5. The Giants are visiting. Dennis, what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, one of the things that jumped out at me right away was the over the weekend total was 47.5, and it's down to 43.5 now. So once again, they've determined that one of these teams can't score, and that team is the Giants. They are horrible. Okay. And I don't care whether they got Shaquille Barkley or Shaquan Barkley back or not, because they don't have anybody to block for him. Okay. So this line opened at 5.5, went 6.5, went to 7.5. So it went over the 6 number, over the 7 number, and is now at 7.5. And I said it the first week of the year that the quarterback down there playing for the Saints is going to be better because he has better coaching, better talent, and the best offensive line he's ever played behind. So Winston's doing the job. The Saints are going to cover at home big.
Okay, Fred, your thoughts on Jameis Winston and the New Orleans team?
Well, Winston played great in game 1, horribly in game 2, very well in game 3. So
do you see a pattern here?
So we'll see. The Giants can't score. Although I'll tell you, the one positive for the Giants was that Barkley ran well. He ran hard. And, you know, obviously some question about him coming back. I don't know if he's 100%, but he's coming back. There's no way they're going to score a lot of points. But again, if it's more than a touchdown, Fred passes on the game.
Okay. We'll call that from now on Fred's rule.
Let me just tell you something about double digits. And in college, I don't have the percentage on the pros last week, but I do on college. There were 31 times where a team was a double-digit favorite on the collegiate level last weekend. 10 times they win, 21 times they lose. Now, I don't know if the percentage is that bad in the NFL, but 2 out of 3 is pretty bad. So that's why Fred has learned a long time ago, stay away from double digits. I know there's a game coming up where it's 17, but we'll talk later about that one.
Okay. And so let's look at one of the bigger disappointments in the NFL this year, and that's the Chiefs traveling to Philadelphia. Chiefs laying 7.5 on the road. Fred, we'll keep it right here with you.
I think I saw a line originally at 6.5, which case Fred would wager on Kansas City. They're going to win the game. Mahomes is not going to allow them to lose 3 games in a row. It's not possible, not conceivable, and it will not happen. I think that what happened was the letdown after game 2, where Andy Reid blew it by trying to settle for a field goal. I think that leaned a little bit into last week, and they allowed the Chargers to get up 14-0. I like Kansas City here, but again, if it's going to be a 7.5 or an 8.5 type thing, I'd rather bet the money line than the odds, the number, because again, that's a problem. And Jalen Hurts, to me, you know, I felt sorry for him when basically he had to leave Alabama when Tua took over. But at this point, he's 23 years of age. He can get better, but right now he is not a great quarterback. And on the other side, you have a great quarterback. So Kansas City is going to win the game.
And the good news, Andy Reid is doing better. He had some health issues after the game, and you can complain about calls here or there, but Andy Reid has been one of the elite coaches in the NFL for the last 15 years.
Well, that's your opinion. That's not my.
Well, it is an
opinion.
opinion show.
It's certainly an opinion, but it's not my opinion at all. And Andy Reid ended up in the hospital because he doesn't know how to coach. He wore himself out and dehydrated himself, and they had to come haul him off and take him into the hospital after he goes 0-3 or whatever they are for the year. I don't think they're that good. I'll say it one more time. I don't care about Mahomes. He's been in the league a few years. Now they know how to stop him. If he's going to come back, let's see him win a Super Bowl. I don't want to hear how good Mahomes is until he wins some Super Bowls.
Well, he's won one.
He's won one. In my opinion, a quarterback is not good until he's been all pro 4 times. He's got 3 Super Bowl rings, and he's been in the league 10 years. Those are the only kind of quarterbacks that I'll count on in a game. Anybody else, I will not. None of these 4. By the way, last week, I think 4 rookie quarterbacks started and 4 rookie quarterbacks threw interceptions for touchdowns. The other way. That's a 14-point swing on the line with a rookie quarterback.
Hey, Fred, could you talk to Dennis and get him to be a little bit more assertive? He's just laying back a little bit too much. Fred, can you work on him?
Yeah, Dennis, calm down. Mahomes will prove his worth, I guarantee you. This team will win 12 games this year, 13 games this year, and this team will go far in the playoffs. Mahomes will not allow them to die.
Well, back to the game, the Chiefs 7.5 on the road. They certainly have the talent and everything to do that. Philadelphia showed that they couldn't play with Dallas. They were way outplayed by Dallas. Like you said, there was some, a 4th down on the 1 and some pickoff. A lot of things happened in that Dallas game that they could have run up the score a little more on even. So, what game were we talking about now? I got back to Dallas.
The Chiefs at the Eagles.
The Chiefs,
so we know
okay.
you're. Hey, by the way.
Oh, I know. The reason was because the 7.5. They're 7.5 on the road. So Fred, if we're going to use Fred's rule, he either has to play Philadelphia or the money line on Kansas City, which would be about 400. So you don't want to do that. So in this situation, you might as well take the Eagles in the hook because I haven't been convinced Kansas City's that good.
Okay. Hey, so guys, let's talk about Dennis Tobler's theory on quarterbacks. You have to have won 14 Super Bowls, been all pro for 23 years, and married to a Brazilian model to be on Fred's list.
No, there's a couple of them on this list that are old. You can even put the guy from Minnesota in there if you want to. These guys, he didn't win a lot, but these guys with experience can play. And how about Brissett?
Are you talking Fran Tarking? Are you talking Fran Tarkington?
No. And I'm talking back about, now I'm going to speak back to Brissett at Miami. He is actually better than Tua. Tua is going to be out for a long time because he has broken ribs. So he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks. And you'll see that Miami, that quarterback, and the reason he can play is because he's been in the league so long. All right. He doesn't have a long history of winning or anything like that, but that experience is what it takes to win in the league. And like I say, when you have a rookie quarterback throw an interception the other direction, that's a 14-point swing on the point spread line. So you just can't hardly bet on these rookie quarterbacks. That's my opinion.
Okay, well, we are going to take a short break, but we've learned something. We've learned how to get Dennis's appreciation in football. No rookies at QB spot. We've learned that Fred talks in the third person and doesn't like to anything over 7 and a hook he doesn't want. And we've learned that we've got a great sponsor in MyBookie. We'll be right back after this short break.
Now Place Your Bets, the world's #1 sports betting film, is now available on DVD. Produced by Dennis Tobler, this Indie Film Fest winner has reached the top of the documentary list. Order your DVD today at www.nowplaceyourbets.com or stream from Vimeo today anytime. Now Place Your Bets. Watch it today.
Welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly. We're taping an hour later than normal, and I realize that Dennis has had an IV of coffee because he is shot out of a cannon. And,
I don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee.
Then I don't know what you're on.
Drink coffee. Look at me. I mean, I'm full of it every day. So
okay. Fred, no truer words have ever been spoken in the history of sports. I'm full of it every day, Dennis Tobler.
That's how I became famous.
Okay, let's go. the Texans at the Buffalo Bills. And the line I have is the Bills laying 16 and a hook at home. There could be another number there. Dennis, let's have you on that one.
Well, they ought to have 26 or 27 should be the number here. So I'm going with Buffalo for sure. I mean, I don't care. They've scored 40 points. They're averaging 40 points a game, and they're at home. And they're playing a team that can't stop anybody and can't score. So lay the 17 points.
Okay, Fred?
I don't care what Fred says.
Well, you can just bet 1,500 to win 100 on the money line. Go right ahead. Now, Buffalo's going to win, and they're fun to watch. They really are.
Yeah.
And Allen is already shown to be one of the better quarterbacks in the National Football League. Certain guys I really like: Wilson, Mahomes, and now Allen, and they're up there. And Stafford now, the way he's playing with the Rams. But
wouldn't it be nice?
There's no chance for the Texans to be close in this one.
So what I would love to see Buffalo finally get over the hill, and when they had Jim Kelly and Thurman, they made it to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. Never could, we remember the kick that just missed. Wouldn't it be nice to see Buffalo get to a Super Bowl and win one?
Yeah, that'd be nice because I have a future bet on them.
Oh,
You realize, of course, that Buffalo is now the only professional team in the state of New York.
True. Very true.
And one could argue the only professional football team in New Jersey as well, because the Giants and Jets are just abysmal. So let's move on to a game that, Fred, you alluded to a little earlier, and we'll start with Dennis on this one. The Cardinals traveling to the Rams, two of the best teams in the NFC, and the Rams are laying 4.5 at home. Dennis?
Boy, the West is very strong. I don't know about this game. Arizona kind of let me down 2 weeks ago. I don't know what happened 2 weeks ago. I lost 3 of the last 3 games. One of them was Seattle, one of them was Arizona, and one of them was the Steelers at home. Arizona didn't play well on defense that day. Now, I think the Rams are bettable Super Bowl winner. I mean, adding that quarterback, and they are tremendous anyway. And their defense is number 1 defense in the league. Okay. So I've seen this game open at 5.5. It went to 6 on the wise guys bets, and now it's down to 4.5. So the line's only 4.5. There's a lot of give and take here. I don't know whether everybody's going to play or not. I suspect if Donald is a question mark, that the line would move a point or two, because he is a force. Number 99 right in the middle for the LA Rams. And I'm going to have to take the Rams at home. I'm sold on the Rams. I'm just simply sold on them. And that great big stadium they've got there, that's all Rams Stadium there. And when we get to a later game, I'll explain it. But I mean, those fans that come to the game at that new stadium, SoFi Stadium, those are really Ram fans there. So they'll have a huge crowd. And I don't know if Arizona can stay up with that defense.
Okay, and Dennis?
Or Fred?
Or Fred, excuse me. Yeah, you're Dennis. The other guy's Fred. Yeah, okay, got it.
I'm big on letdowns, and the Rams had to be sky high last week, and they came through. Can they get that high again for Arizona? And again, Murray can run back there. He can move back there. So as good as Donald is, and as Dennis indicated, he is a force. I mean, he's the major force. He's the best defensive lineman in the league. I don't think there's any question. But Murray's about to have a big game too. I think I would think a lot of points will be scored in this one. And I think I would lean toward Arizona in a close finish. And I would think I would take the 4.5 and the Arizona Cardinals.
Let me read you the total real quick, because he did hit on something. Opened to 53, went to 53.5, 54, and sitting at 55 now. So there will be points scored in this game.
So Dennis, this is a toss-up question to each of you. Is there the second most valuable position in football after the quarterback? Is it the defensive lineman? Is it, or the wide receiver? Dennis, let's start with you.
I think the second most important is the left tackle.
Okay. So a third option, which I didn't give you, the blind side.
Yeah, I think it's the right tackle on the left-handed thrower, but the opposite side tackle has to be the most important guy next to the quarterback. If he doesn't do his job, the quarterback never can. And of course, I am a lineman, okay? I don't like the privileged players, I call them, the wide receivers, the flankers, the running backs, the quarterbacks. They're not my favorite kind of guys, all right? So the left tackle is the second most important spot.
And Fred?
Well, I can't disagree with that, but on a serious note, Cooper Kupp is awfully fun to watch for the Rams. And apparently he's got this thing going already with Stafford. And, I remember way back when Jack Snow played for the Rams, and maybe he only ran, I think, 4.7 40. And so that was even pretty slow back then for a wide receiver, but nobody ever caught him from behind. I don't know how fast Cooper Kupp is, but all I know is when he's holding that football, nobody seems to catch him, and he finds a way into the end zone. So as far as the most valuable after the quarterback, it depends how talented that person might be. If it's Darnold, if that talented, it's probably Darnold. But if there's a wide receiver who makes a difference, it could be a wide receiver. So I think it could change from year to year.
Okay.
Team to team.
Okay, let's go to Fred. We're going to stay with you. This is your favorite quarterback, or one of them, Russell Wilson. The Seahawks traveling to the Niners, line San Francisco -3 at home.
So what do you think the odds would be before the season began of both Kansas City and Seattle being 1 and 2 at this point? I think you'd probably get pretty good odds. I think Wilson has played well the last 2 first halves. Somebody's got to tell him there's another 30 minutes of action, usually in the National Football League. The 49ers have to be let down after the last second Green Bay loss. So I'm going to take the 3. I'm going to give Wilson some more room. And I think you have Wilson versus Garoppolo and maybe Lance a little bit. I'm taking Wilson. I think Seattle will play better. Their offensive line is better this year. It just, I don't know that they've fallen asleep in the second half. I'm going with Russell.
Okay, and Dennis?
I think the biggest problem with the Seahawks is their defense. They got rid of their good corners. They got rid of some safeties, and their defense hasn't been able to stop anybody, especially in the second half. Like I said, they let me down 2 weeks ago. Last week I didn't play them. I was worried about it, and they come out firing, and I thought they're back to their own selves. And by the end of the game, they were blown out. So I'm not going to take the Seahawks in this game at all. The 49ers are another team that I think is a tremendous team, a tremendous lot of talent and backup support, and a great quarterback or 2 or 3. And the line has actually went down to 2.5 as of this morning on that game. So Seattle's taking a little money, but I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers even at -3.
Okay, the Ravens traveling to Denver, and I show right now Denver -1 point. Dennis?
The Ravens are too beat up and hurt, and they were so lucky to win that last game that it's unbelievable. And I think the Broncos defense, I've said all year on this show, the Broncos defense is one of the best units in the NFL, and they will hold the Ravens down. They only have to concentrate on Lamar. That's it. And on the Broncos on the other side of the ball, I also said this, when they found Teddy Bridgewater, they found an experienced guy who hasn't given a chance and put him with a good team, and he doesn't make any mistakes. And they've been running up 20, 30 points a game also. But that defense of Denver is what you've got to watch out for. Denver's defense is tremendously strong, especially up front. So anybody that's going to try to pass against Denver, they might have a hard time doing it. I think Denver will win this game handily.
Okay, Fred?
I can't disagree. I have a hunch that, Lamar is up and down, and he makes mistakes. Talented quarterback as he is, against the very good defense the Broncos do have, I think that's going to be a problem. I think the Broncos will win here.
Okay.
They're hurt too, Trip. Baltimore is hurt. I mean, they're hurt at positions you never heard of, like too deep in the, they're hurt too deep in the defensive line, too deep in the linebacker cores, too deep in the deep back cores. They're hurt everywhere. They're hurt on their offensive line. They're hurt everywhere. So the Ravens going on the road, it's just too much this week. Then they lucked out last week, and they know it.
Okay, let's go to another team that normally gets a lot of respect, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Green Bay. Green Bay laying 7 at home. Steelers, very, very slow start this year.
Yeah, if you're going to ask me about that particular game, I don't know what's the matter with the Steelers. The first game they played well, and they come back and beat Buffalo, and that game will probably turn out to be the biggest upset of the year, Buffalo being beaten by Pittsburgh. Anyway, Pittsburgh hasn't shown me anything except for that fourth quarter against Buffalo. That's it. Ben's too old, okay? And Ben can't move around anymore. And I don't know what kind of receiving core he has left there. The total on this game started at 48, and it's cleared down to 45. That means no points are going to be scored. And with Rodgers on the other side of the ball, who's going to score the points? Evidently Green Bay, because Green Bay is a 7-point favorite I see today. And if there's going to be very few points scored, here's another game that's going to be like 28-10, something in that regard.
Okay, Fred?
I think Big Ben should try out to be host of Jeopardy. Because as the National Football League quarterback, I think he's done. I really do. I don't mean that in a jocular way. I just think it's time. And everybody, certain guys can play to the 44. Certain guys can't play beyond 38. I just think Big Ben is done. I think Green Bay will score enough to cover the touchdown. And Rodgers played, exceptionally well on Sunday night. So he's back. And they've got so many receivers. I mean, they really do. The week before, they don't throw to Valdez. So like the first pass for the touchdown is they've got so many receivers. There's no way that the Steelers can possibly stop it.
Okay. And no worry about a letdown after a big game last week.
Yeah, there is that question. But I again, Rodgers has a lot to prove. He played horribly in game 1, played better in game 2, played still better in game 3. They've got so many. He's got to feed a lot of guys, and I think this week he'll feed some guys who he didn't feed last week. So I just think Green Bay, as Dennis indicated, 28-10, 35-10, something in that range. I don't think Pittsburgh has a shot.
Okay, let's go to a game that a lot of people are excited about, and it's not necessarily for the game on the field, but maybe the mental gymnastics of having Tom Brady go back home to New England. He's going to lead the defending Super Bowl champs, the Bucs, in, and Tampa Bay is laying 7 at New England. Fred, go ahead.
I think Belichick has no chance in this one. None. The loss of James White, people might think, well, that's not a biggie. He's not their top wide. He's not their top running back, but he's the guy that catches the pass out of the backfield, and maybe that's a way to score a couple times. He's gone. I don't know for how long now. Again, I play fantasy, so I know how important he is to that team. I don't think the Patriots, I don't care if the fans or anything else, have any shot to beat Brady in this circumstance. None. Zero.
Okay, and I'm going to guess that Dennis, because he loves rookie quarterbacks so much, is probably going to disagree a little bit, but let's give Dennis a chance to talk about it. Go ahead.
No, I agree with Fred. I mean, I think Tom Brady's going to come in there. First of all, let's take a look at this. Belichick gets all the credit for the Super Bowls. I think it was Tom Brady all the way from 2004. It was Tom Brady that made the Patriots the Patriots. It wasn't Belichick. It's because you're going to get an example of what Belichick can do. He's got a number 1 draft choice, right? At quarterback or not?
He does, yes.
Okay. So he's not going to win this game. He's going to get picked off and ran back the other way. So there's 7 points right there for Tampa. So I look for Tampa to roll all over him in this one. I don't think Brady's going to call off the dogs. Him and Gronkowski. Are you kidding? I wouldn't. I'll say right now, I think they will line up for 3 TDs, just the 2 of them. Brady to Gronk 3 times in this game.
Okay. And Fred, you'll get a kick out of this. Do you remember Marty Rodick, who we worked with at a couple of the sports networks in Las Vegas?
Of course. I know Marty a long time.
He interviewed Bill Belichick a number of years ago. And Bill, as it turns out, used to listen to the American Sports Radio Network. And I was doing the show, the overnight show. And then Marty would be on before me, and Belichick would get to work when he was a coach at Cleveland. And he asked Marty, is that a-hole still working for the network? And he was referring to me. So I'm at least glad that Bill Belichick knew my name, the a-hole. So,
well, he's one to call names, so whatever.
Okay. And then finally, this is a heck of a story in the NFL, and that's the Raiders 3-0 traveling down to LA. And this is a team that's used to playing in great stadiums. But Dennis, you were alluding, or Fred earlier, that this stadium is a great one in LA, but it's a Rams crowd, not necessarily a Chargers crowd. The Chargers laying 3.5 at home to the visiting Raiders. Dennis?
The Raiders have been awful lucky, but I just want to emphasize that 70-some thousand people in the stands 2 times has pushed the Raiders forward, and they're still injured. They still have injuries. And you remember that fullback that they had that had COVID before game 1 and came in game 1 and ran a touchdown? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Fred's the fantasy guy. So anyway, he hasn't been back yet. He came off the COVID list. He played in game 1, and he's their running game, the Raiders running game. They didn't have any running backs last game. I was astounded the way I've been astounded in all the games, the way Carr has been able to launch the ball like a winged duck high in the air, and his own guys run under it. I mean, I have hardly seen anybody except for Rodgers or Brady that's throwing it 70 yards that arches the ball like Carr does. But by God, it's been landing in them receivers' arms. So they've been playing a lot better. Their defense is a lot better. They've been playing on a lot of emotion. I think that emotion is going to run out this week. I really do. And then I'm going to turn right around and tell Fred, Herbert is a good quarterback. I watched him last week. I watched him really close. He does have a future. I really think the Chargers are going to demolish the Raiders in this matchup. I don't think 3.5 is near enough here. The Raiders are 3-0, and they couldn't be any happier. They didn't think they'd be 3-0 after 7 games, or have 3 wins after 7 games. So to be 3-0, they're happy. And I have to say this too. One of the newspaper sports headlines this week about the game was that poor old Gruden is emotionally exhausted. He's been through all these 3 big wins, and yes, it's nice to win, but boy, is it hard. And it really takes its toll on you. And to me, that was an excuse for the upcoming game. Okay. That's the way I took it, and I'm going to pound the Chargers.
Okay, Fred?
I think the Chargers will win here. Again, though, they had a tough game last week, but I think LA will win. Most importantly, of those 70,000 fans, I hope they're all vaccinated.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will say this, it will be a Raider stadium. There will be more Raiders fans in that stadium than Chargers fans.
Okay. Well, now the fun part. My bookie is each giving us $500 to bet. And I'm going to give my pick out for the week, $100. And I am going to take the Lions getting 3 at Chicago. And the reason being is this is a team that has played well. They've got a new coaching situation in there. I think they've been playing hard all year, and Chicago is terrible. So I'm going to take 3 on the road in Chicago. Dennis, what's your play of the week for my bookie?
My play of the week is the Los Angeles Chargers minus 3.5. And I think they will blow them out. The Raiders have had their time.
Okay, Fred, your play?
I'm already $50 ahead. I had Notre Dame last week, so let's not forget that. I'm going to bet another 50 in college.
Hey, by the way, can we cue some theme music? Hey, big spender. Why don't you go $100, you cheap?
Oh, okay, we'll go $100. Mybookie.ag. Wrong favorite in Corvallis Collegiate League. Oregon State will beat Washington. Washington's a 2.5 or 3-point favorite. If you take a look at Oregon State, they can score on anybody. Scored 45 on USC. They'll score 40 or more against Washington. Take the Beavers, or as they call them now, the Beavs, and Oregon State against Washington for $100.
Okay,
cool.
Dennis, or excuse me, Lee, our producer, are you writing those down?
Yep.
Okay, so our picks for the week. And we do, don't you love our show, Dennis? We do an NFL show and Fred picks college.
No, I like that. I like that college pick. He was right on that total last week. I got to give him credit. If people would have bet it when he told them to bet it, they would have won it. But if you wait till the end of the time when the late bettors steam up the points, you're going to lose a lot of time. So it's best to get on them early.
Okay. Well, as usual, we have had a lot of fun. We've killed some brain cells. We've learned that Dennis Tobler hates rookies. You've got to win 14 Super Bowls, be all pro for 37 years to get Dennis's respect. And there is one of those going in Tom Brady this week. And
I've also learned that Tripp likes to exaggerate about just about everything. So
yeah.
take that into consideration when you're listening to the show.
Okay. And Fred, your final thoughts.
Should be another great season and another great week in this fourth week of the National Football League season. And again, no chance that Belichick beats Brady on Sunday night. And I'm not even sure Gronkowski's going to play. Last thing I heard that he may not. Won't matter. I think Tampa Bay will beat the Patriots.
Okay. And before we go, we want to credit Dennis and everyone involved with Now Place Your Bets, one of the best documentaries out there, Film Festival Awards, everything to back it up. And a lot of fun to get a chance to be a little part of that. Dennis, how do someone get a hold of that movie?
The best thing to do is to go to Vimeo.com, the gambling broadcast channel on Vimeo.com. Not only is the movie up there, but my elongated interview with Pete Rose, 60 some minutes. He answers all the questions of his life in that's up there. How to play videos, the different casino games and everything. The best thing to do is go Vimeo.com, gambling broadcast, and pick the shows you want to watch. But be sure and watch this show every week if you want to win.
And finally, Fred, thanks so much for another great week. Dennis, and a little hint out there, get vaccinated if you haven't. Be healthy. If you need a booster, go get it. Your family wants you around, and we want you. If you're watching our show every week, we don't want you dying.
Right. Exactly right.
So, hey, want to thank Lee Spencer for turning the dials, the folks at Revolver Podcast for putting this up, everyone involved. Thanks for doing it, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.
Get the latest breaking news in the sports betting world. MyBookie monitors and releases information pertaining to online sportsbooks and professional football. The good as well as the bad.
Thank you for listening to Football Forecast Weekly, an affiliate of TSI Network.